Story 1. I, 30 female, recently bought a house for my former nanny. My entire childhood I was raised by my nanny Jane, as my mom was the breadwinner and my dad wasn't in the picture. Jane attended every after-school activity, graduation and parent-teacher conference. Jane raised me, and I see her as my second mom. My mom employed Jane as a nanny and housekeeper from when I was 2 until I was 28, when my mom passed away due to cancer. As a result, I inherited everything. My mom was a successful surgeon with her practice, and my grandparents left her with a few properties in her home country. I've since rented the properties out, giving me an excellent rental income. Well, after my mom passed away, Jane was there for me. She helped me make all of the funeral arrangements and contact relatives from my mom's home country. After she helped me through this challenging time, I wanted to do something nice to thank Jane. As a birthday gift, I surprised Jane with a deed for a 2-bed, 2-bath house in the area of the country where she'd always talked about wanting to retire. Jane tried to decline the gift, saying it was too much, but I told her she was like a second mother to me, and that this was the least I could do for her as thanks for raising me. Somehow word got back to my dad that I bought a house for Jane, and he turned up at my mom's old practice demanding to talk to me. I didn't even know who the man was, as I've seen him less than 20 times in my entire life. He claimed to be my father and yelled at me for buying a house for a stranger over someone whose family, and says he and his family of 5 have been struggling financially. He even had the nerve to say that I should buy a house for him and my half-siblings, whom I've never met, because they're my blood family and I owe it to them. I laughed in his face and told him that Jane had been far more involved in my life growing up than he ever had, and that I didn't care if he was struggling financially. Security then escorted him to his car and ensured he left the property. My dad's side of the family has now been trying to reach out through Facebook. Complete strangers who I've never met, saying I'm an idiot, and that my mom never let him be part of my life. I know this is false, since I remember my mom calling him over the years, asking him to pick me up on the weekends to spend time with me, and he never did. I tried to talk with my friend Aiden, 34 male, about this problem, who recently reconnected with his dad, whom he hadn't seen since he was 6 due to his dad being incarcerated. Aiden told me that my dad probably had a good reason for abandoning me, and that I was an idiot because some people don't even have dads. I reminded him I was one of those people, and now he's refusing to talk to me. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sperm donor and his flying monkeys can fly on by. You don't owe them so much as a hello. As for Aiden, he doesn't get to compare his family dynamics with yours. He's comparing apples to radiators. I hope you or your mother will provide a pension for Jane to live off of, or she will have to sell the house. Exactly. And screw Aiden and anyone who says your dad had a good reason for abandoning you. Also, what the heck? I'd love to hear a logical example of how he had to abandon you, but went on to father and raise other kids. If your dad had any reason to abandon you when he was able to be a father, he would have come to you, explained, apologized, asked how he could reconnect with you, and honored your response. He didn't reach out when he was actively parenting his other kids, or even when your mom died. Only when he realized you had an inheritance. He still doesn't want to be your father, he just wants your money. He must feel bad about losing your friend, but you shouldn't. He isn't worthy of you, so walk away with your head held high. Holy crap. Aiden is projecting. His dad was unable to take care of him because he was incarcerated. Your dad was free, but taking care of his second family, and you became important only when he heard you got rich and are generous. You did a kind and generous thing. Jane deserved it for being like a second mother and being there for you during difficult times. Family is about the relationships and connections we build, not just biological ties. Don't feel bad about prioritizing the people who have been there for you, regardless of blood relations. I'm a 59-year-old female and my daughter is 31. She's been living with me for the past few months as they've had some financial trouble. Her husband is 38 and they have 4 children from kindergarten to tween. I'm vegetarian, so I don't cook meat in the house, but her youngest is picky and usually doesn't like my food. My daughter cooks a few meals a week, and she'll usually make something for the kids if I'm making something they won't like. Last weekend my daughter said she was going out with her friends, and I assumed she would be home by dinner, because she didn't say anything specifically to me about doing anything for the kids. She wasn't back by 9, and the kids were hungry, so I called her, but she didn't pick up. The phone is probably dead. I just made rice and steamed veggies for myself, because I wasn't too hungry or in the mood to cook properly. I offered some for the children, and the 2 older ones ate. The kindergartner was upset though, and asked if I could make chicken nuggets for him. We did have chicken and breadcrumbs, and I know how they're made, but I didn't feel good about cooking meat. So I told him he could wait until his mom came home. He got upset and threw the plate of food down, and it broke. I picked up the ceramic pieces, but had him help clean the rice. He was upset about that too. My daughter wasn't back until 11, and the kid went to sleep after a little while. My daughter was really upset that I let him sleep hungry, and I said it was one evening, and he wasn't starving. She said I could just get over myself and make the damn chicken. Then I told her he broke a plate, and she got even angrier that I asked him to clean like a maid when he was a little kid. I think she coddles him, and I told her so. What do you think? Edit. He ate some crackers before he slept, so he wasn't completely hungry. He only got hungry at 9 because he ate at 5. I thought an early dinner would be fine, and he could sleep soon. He wanted to stay up and wait for his mom though, so I didn't keep him hungry from lunch till 9. I offered him PB&J in addition to the rice and veggies. She wasn't back by 9, and the kids were hungry. Everyone's the idiot, my goodness. Your daughter is out partying, and you let kids as young as 5 stay up till 9 p.m. wondering if they'll get dinner. What the heck? And where was the husband for all this? It sounds like nobody wants to be in charge of the children. A hungry kindergartner at 9 p.m. is going to be hangry. They should have been fed earlier. Everyone involved knows this, but it sounds like no one wants to be responsible and everyone wants to be cranky about it. You're an adult, and they needed to eat. Come on, disagree. It's not grandma's job to feed her daughter's herd. She had food made. He didn't want it. That's okay, he won't die. Also, he ate crackers, and she offered him PB&J. He pitched a fit because she didn't make him exactly what he wanted. Not catering to a kid's every whim, and having him help clean up the mess he made are both entirely appropriate. The kid's mother, on the other hand, should have let her mother know when she'd be home, and is being ridiculous about the cleanup. Op's not the idiot. She didn't let you know when she would be home, didn't leave food for them, and didn't pick up the phone when you called. She's mad that you didn't cook for them. Where is their father? A PPJ is a fine dinner, and if she wanted him to have something different, she should have prepared food for them. I would start a countdown clock for them to leave your house. She is entitled and rude and needs to understand the privilege of having a home to live in for free. My wife and I are in our 60s thinking of retiring soon and trying to get our finances and everything we own in order. For example, we're finally selling our old house because it's too big and we don't need it. We want to live in a quieter place and a smaller house. We have 3 kids, all adults by now. Each of our kids has their own kids as well. We have a daughter with 1 kid, a son with 2, another son with 2 biological kids, and a stepdaughter. Our youngest son was married. About 10 or so years ago, he cheated on his wife, and they got divorced. He cheated on his current wife, then he adopted her daughter. We want to divide our estate between our children and our grandchildren. We had a family gathering to discuss some of these things, especially the house, in case our children wanted to buy it themselves. Our son got very angry when he heard that we were cutting off his adopted child from the will. We told him she's not our family, and we don't support his life choices and how he ruined his family. He told us to stop holding a grudge for something that happened years ago and accept the child or cut him and his family off. My wife and I think that his new wife and the child are living proof of him ruining his family. Do you think we're wrong in this? She is a child, and he's right that she's his, but does that automatically make her our family? He said we're treating his wife and daughter poorly, and we're acting like idiots towards a kid. Edit. The stepdaughter and the adopted daughter are the same girl. My son married her mother and then adopted her. The girl was a toddler when my son and his mother started their relationship. We don't see or talk to each other often, only at family gatherings. They live in another state. She doesn't call us her grandparents. What each of our kids is getting are family heirlooms and not money. All the money will be distributed between our grandkids in our will to help them get their education paid, hopefully. My son doesn't have contact with his ex-wife or his biological kids. He cut them off and didn't even want to pay child support. My wife and I helped our daughter-in-law and our grandchildren. So let me get this straight. You don't support your son's life choices and how he ruined his family. Yet you give him an inheritance, objects, money, whatever, and not his adopted daughter because of what your adult son has done. It's your money, and you get to decide how it's split so you're not the idiot. But I do think it's unfair though to exclude the kid and not your son. After all, he's the one that nuked his previous family, not the kid. I'd write him out and include the kid, but that's me. The fact that he's only fighting for his youngest daughter, that he adopted a child while abandoning his 2 biological children, would have meant quite truthfully that I would have cut him off a long time ago. You are standing on your morals. They make perfect sense to me. He abandoned his own kids. What right does he ever have to talk about family and children ever again? I'm still going with you are the idiot because of how you treat a child who has nothing to do with whatever her adoptive dad did. It's not just about the inheritance, the way you write about her makes you an idiot. My wife and I think that his new wife and the child are living proof of him ruining his family. Don't get me wrong, your son is a major idiot for cheating. But in my opinion, you're as much an idiot by blaming a kid and treating her differently only because she reminds you of what your own son did. You act as if you're a victim in this whole story. For us, this child is a constant reminder of how our son, that we raised, acted badly towards his wives. The more I think about this, the more I think you are a vindictive idiot. My sister, 29, was a nightmare growing up. That is a fact, and my parents didn't handle her well. She was 16 when they gave up and sent her to a camp. It was horrible for her. The moment she was 18, she left and was on her own. She hasn't been in contact with them since. We got back into contact a few years ago, and she's much better. I'm in a much better place, and we've been slowly reconnecting. I'm engaged and my wedding is this year. I sent her an invite, and she gave me a call. She asked if our parents would be there, and I told her yes. This is where we argued. She wants me not to invite them, or she won't show. They were horrible to her, and how dare I invite them? My argument was they had treated me well, and it's not my fault they sent her away. Also, she was pretty feral as a kid, but I don't hold that against her. We went on for a while, but in the end I told her if she couldn't handle seeing our parents not to come. She hung up and thought I was being a jerk. Am I the idiot for telling my sister, if she can't handle seeing our parents at my wedding, she shouldn't show up? Edit, my parents tried therapy. My brother has no contact with her due to the extreme bullying she put him through as a kid. The camp was a minor reform camp. Also another point, when she was sent away, obviously my parents didn't know these camps were awful. They were advertised to help kids. A safe place to help kids when parents can't figure it out. Not the idiot, your wedding, your guest list. But it seems your parents did mistreat your sister. You would do well to listen to what she has to say on that subject. You should also read up on families that have golden child scapegoat children, because your experience of your parents was probably very different from hers. How they treated you was probably very different from how they treated her. Once you do that, you may find you don't want your parents there either. This was not at all like a golden child scapegoat situation. This was one kid who was wildly out of control, and another kid who was not. Also, Op says they also have a brother, and he still has no contact with another sister due to the abuse she engaged in towards the younger siblings. They're going to have different experiences with their parents. Their parents were treating them differently, because they behaved radically differently. Would you want her to be punished for not doing anything wrong? Send her to a camp. What was that about? I mean, for the most part, you invite whoever you want to your wedding. And anyone who says, I won't go if X is going, the proper response is, we're sorry, you won't be able to attend. But the camp thing reeks of abuse. Was it conversion therapy? That poor, poor sister. Your sister wasn't a nightmare for no reason. Your parents failed her to the point where all she had to do was cut them off to grow. No one cuts off their entire family for no reason. It's one of the most difficult and painful things a person can do. It's almost always a last resort. You are the idiot and an abuse enabler. Thank goodness for your sister that she got out of there. All I, female 19, know about my father is his last name. When I was 4 years old, my mother got married again. Her husband, whom I called John, adopted me. Until I became a teenager and asked a direct question, my mother insisted that he was my real father. John has been very strict. For example, he could punish me for leaving my room at night or having a snack before lunch, and often make fun of my speech defects. When I was young, 4 or 5, I tried to make friends with him, but he constantly pushed me away. In the end, I never loved him, didn't obey him, and he was never an authority for me. I never saw him as a parent. So, the older I got, the more we fought. At some point, scandals began to occur almost daily, and John and I insulted each other with all our might. My mom was more liberal, but she never took my side. She grew up in a toxic family, and for as long as I can remember, she was very depressed, so she avoided any conflicts. I forgive her for that, but this is the way it was. One day when I was 15, I had a breakdown, and I wrote Mom a long message in which I told her that John was responsible for the fact that I almost dropped out of school and never felt that I had a family. Mom cried for a long time, but eventually she offered me a compromise. John would live apart from us until I moved, and I would go to therapy and try to fix my life.
I agreed, and things have been pretty good for the last 5 years. Life was better, and I will move into my house next month. Mom inherited 2 living spaces from her parents. She now lives in one and decided to give the second one to me, so that I wouldn't have to live in rented housing. Mom is still with John. Over the years, he sometimes came to our house for my younger brother, but we didn't even say hello, and I just went to my room when he came. I'd almost vacated my room when my mom suddenly mentioned that John would come to visit me from time to time. I was like, what?
She said that since she didn't have her own car, she would give him spare keys so that he could check if everything was in order, make repairs for me, carry heavy loads, and so on. I said this wouldn't happen. I did not want to see this man at my home, and would kick him out if I only saw him on the doorstep. I don't mind him living with Mom again, but my house is my home, and I want to feel safe there. Now my mom is pretty angry. She says it's time for me to let go of my resentment and accept help from someone who will lend me a helping hand. She also told me that she was very offended that I wanted to change my stepfather's surname to my grandmother's because he raised me, although he was wrong in some ways. I don't consider myself an idiot. I don't even mind seeing this man at my mom's house, but I just don't like him, and I don't want him to have access to my personal space. So I was wondering, am I really wrong? Absolutely not, the idiot. Your mom and stepdad seem to forget the years of emotional abuse and how you fought to have a peaceful life. It's your house, your sanctuary. You have every right to set boundaries and not let him invade your personal space. Stand your ground and keep your home a safe space for yourself. By the way, John doesn't want to visit to help. He wants to visit so he can still exert his control over you. Do not give either of them a key. If she has legally given you a house, as in ownership has been transferred to you, you can change the locks. If not, look for somewhere else to live, as legally she is the owner, and you must have a tenancy agreement to stop her from letting him in. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Good luck. You deserve better. Thank you for watching.